Today, SRAM have released quite a few new things to the market, and they've gone pretty big with the promotion, so you'll be seeing coverage of this from all different angles. In today's video, I'll be covering off the key updates in the first few minutes for those short on time. I'll then dig deeper into the details at a technical level. I'll give you my take on this new equipment after around 400 Ks out on the open road, and then I'll have a discussion around the operation of SRAM AXS and a little known feature about rear shifting speeds that's not discussed very much. Anyway, that at the end of the video. Right away, let's get stuck into what's new. The updated SRAM Force AXS groupset. Note the dropping of the eTAP label as well, so just Force AXS groupset. Key updates with this are redesigned levers or hoods or brakes or whatever you want to call them, those things that do this. There are a number of cranksets with direct mount chain rings. Some of those cranksets do come with some new power meter options. It comes in unicorn grey colour, which I'll no doubt call Sparkle Pony, and the rear derailleur is now compatible with 4 types of cassette options. So SRAM Force is the middle tier group set for SRAM's road/gravel performance range. Think Ultegra if you're from the Shimano side of things. And in today's release, we see some trickle down technology coming from Red into Force and some trickle up technology or features coming from the relatively new Rival AXS into the Force group set. In addition to the new Force, we see SRAM Red AXS Rainbow, cassette and chain coming in at 1028 or 1033 combinations. It's also compatible with Rival AXS and Force AXS if you want to bling your bike up with those. And the last item on the quick list of what's new today is a 4-burner barbecue. Actually, it's a 4x eTAP battery charger from SRAM, supporting USB-C, fast charge, larger LED lights, and a wall mount option. Everybody from SRAM is super excited about this, and it is quite the step up from the single battery charger here. Now, it did take them a while to get to the 4-burner option on their barbecue of battery chargers. In the meantime, there have been quite a few third-party options, which I will not endorse, but they are out there. I've been using this 2x for quite some time now. Okay, that's a quick list of what's new. Let's dig further into the tech details. Now to a closer look or a deeper dive into what's new, what's changed. Firstly, looking at the older SRAM Force eTAP AXS from back in 2019. Fast forwarding to right now, and here is what's on the market as of today. Closer look there at the Sparkle Pony colour, the grey kind of purpley silvery it looks good in the sunlight. And the major change to this group set are the levers themselves with a different shape, adopting that of the Rival AXS levers. The best way to see that in action is to play this animation here, which overlays the previous to the new. And you can see they're a little slimmer through here, through the reach, and just under here too. Now, the catch, or the gotcha with this, is the auxiliary ports here have been removed. And the pad contact adjustment, which would be up here, has also been removed. But never to worry, you can still use the wireless blips as they've shown here. But to get that thinner shape and the better handhold, I guess you'd call it, they've removed some of the components of this lever. Another thing of note is the lever adjustability still exists. So going back here, if you want to pull that out a little further or back in, there is adjustment for that. Pulling up the top of the range Force crankset or chain set, and you can see they are using direct mount chain rings, which are also directly mounted to the power meter. So once the chain rings are worn, it's time to swap those and the integrated power meter out for a new one. Good idea to run a wax chain or keep things nice and clean at all times to ensure the longevity of that. It's not going to be the liking of everybody who like to keep their power meters and swap chain rings. However, in the quest of light, stiff, and, well, I was going to say cheap, but light and stiff, this is what they've gone with for the solution here. There's also a single-sided spindle version, similar to what we see on Rival. As I said, technology is trickling up from Rival to Force, and they've come out with a second option for a power meter there in the spindle. The tagline here is the party continues with mullet compatibility. So yes, these Force AXS levers are compatible with Eagle AXS as well if you want to go 1x and get a huge range of gears there on the back. So the summary there is shape of control reimagined. So the new lever shape, top tech for front shifting. That will be the new integrated front chain rings. Dream build ready, okay, if you want to go all the way to the mullet with Eagle, I guess that would be a dream build, and connected on every level with the AXS compatibility. As you've seen in the video just before, there's the Red AXS Rainbow cassette and chain, and the 4-burner barbecue battery charger. With the sheer number of components released today, I wasn't able to get a full comprehensive list of weights of every one of those components. However, SRAM did supply this, which we can use as a reference point to see where things land with this new group set. D1 being the old eTAP Force AXS, D2 being what's released today, the Force AXS that is eTAP, but don't mention eTAP because that word's been removed. It's the new stuff over there in column 2. The weight savings pretty much come from the direct mount chain rings there. So the power meter Force 4835 2x chain set goes from 835 down to 752 grams. The 1x 737 to 647. Few grams shaved off the levers and calipers there, but not really too much to write home about. Everything else remains the same, but I guess the most interesting part there is right down the bottom there. 2x power groupo comes in at 94 grams off, and the Explore power groupo, so your gravel group set, with the power meter comes in at 101 grams lighter than the previous editions. When it comes to the pricing, SRAM say everything has remained the same, and given the sheer number of different components there are today, I'm not going to list every one of those, so I'll put a link in the description below if you want to research those. I do know, however, the 4x battery charger comes in at US 120. Now to my hands-on with this new group set, and I was lucky enough to be invited up to Sydney to meet with the SRAM team to take the new Force AXS out for a roll around the hills of the northern beaches. And my take after that ride, well, it simply just works. I had zero issues with it on the ride up in Sydney, and unfortunately for us, that was done in all conditions, including pouring rain. In the Lama garage, I have bikes with SRAM Red AXS and SRAM Rival AXS, so the new SRAM Force AXS felt very familiar to me. In fact, the levers felt exactly like the newer Rival AXS, and I prefer those over the large, bulky Red AXS levers, which are now due for an upgrade. The drivetrain was quiet on the new Force AXS out in the road, which is something they've worked on with this new group, and the gear changes were as expected, but more on that in just a few moments. Some quick takes on this new group set, which really don't fit into anywhere else in this video. I'll jam in right here. There's no rim brake version of the new Force AXS. I know that's going to upset a few people. This still uses dot fluid, not mineral oil, for the brakes and hydros. The integrated chain rings in the power meter is going to ruffle a few feathers, I'm sure, and already has on the leaks of this group set over on Reddit and SlowTwitch. However, if you're like me, you can still run the Quark D0 Spider meter. It's going to be compatible with this group. The new colors, meh. I don't really get into the colorway and things. As long as things are matching and looking quite nice, it's an okay from me. But if you are into matching everything, Hammerhead have a little casing that matches the new Sparkle Pony, and I believe there's some Time road pedals that also have the same colorway on them. Thankfully, there's no need for us to spend too much time diving through this data here, comparing the Force AXS Quark to everything else. It simply just works. It's a Quark, it does Quarky things, they're quite reliable. Overall here for the standard Lama lab test, 168, 169, 170. No major separations, big ring, small ring, erg mode, sprints, overs and unders, etc. The kicker dropping a little bit there through the high flywheel speed test, but that's not testing the power meter itself. Outdoors, again, looking pretty good up against the ASIOM Duos. We'll grab some data through here. Again, this is small ring, big ring, 201, 202.5, no major separations, bit of an acceleration through there. Further on in the ride was a bit of a hill jam through here and a sprint. And I do like it when power meters just work because we don't have to dive too much into the data there. But I've got 168, 170, a few start and stops, which are going to change things a little bit. But through here, looking good, into the sprint, up here. Again, one's a little bit quicker than the other. Again, just recording with both units, but you can see they stabilize pretty well. Mean max power graph for that, pretty much 1 for 1. So again, nothing to write home about with the power meter. It just simply works. Happy days. So all in all, a nice incremental update to the SRAM Force AXS range. And it's good to see they've stuck with the 12-speed, flat top chain, so everything is compatible and mix and match as you please. Now onto two things, or observations of how SRAM AXS works. Now it's not limited to just this group set, it's SRAM AXS 2x as a whole, and it's something that I've been meaning to visit for a while now, but having access to this group set and bike for about 2 weeks now, I managed to get across it. Now, these are by design and are by default. The first one being is that front derailleur changing. Now, this action here, the combo action, will change the chainring up or change the chainring down, depending on which chainring you're in at the time. Now on a Shimano Di2 system, going up into the big ring and going up to the big ring again, it goes nowhere. Again, same with the small ring. Changing down to the small ring and trying to change the small ring again, it goes nowhere. So you can't really catch yourself out. However, with SRAM AXS, if you don't know what chainring you're in for a bad time. And that's exactly what happened to me. It was, and I do admit, a user error 100%. But the scenario was I was riding up past a group, someone had attacked off the front. I wasn't aware of what chainring I was on. I was just pedaling the bike. We're on a slight descent. I've gone, okay, time to jump, time to go. Let's go up in the big ring. And I did the double tap. I was already in the big ring, and you can guess what happened. I dropped down to the small ring. A few seconds later, a few words of encouragement to the chain, and it was back up in the big ring. Again, there was no issues with the gear changing, and it was user error. However, that combo action, doing two different things depending on where the chain was, it caught me out. What I've set up on the bike are the two wireless blips on the internal, and as soon as we get access to the AXS app that allows us to connect to this group set, which isn't happening because this thing isn't released yet, I will be unassigning that combo action and assigning the front chainring to up and down on the inside wireless blips. Now, I call that a safety measure for my own stupidity and own inexperience with a 2x AXS system. However, it's just one of those things that I'm sure other people have been caught out by anyway. And that moves me to the rear shifting speed. And one thing I've noticed in having ridden 1x AXS for probably 15,000 Ks now or more on the gravel bike that I have is that a 2x bike just feels a little more delayed, a little more sluggish when I'm clicking up, clicking down. That rear shift isn't as snappy. Now, doing some research on this, here's what I found on the SRAM support site, tucked away and worded very, what would you say, craftily. So the answer here to the question of can I adjust the rear derailleur shift speed on a SRAM eTAP AXS, the answer is no, you can't adjust the rear shift speed. However, the rear shifting automatically increases slightly when a front derailleur is not paired to the group set. Now, rewinding back, filtering through all the marketing speak there, what that's saying is if there's no front derailleur in a SRAM AXS system, the rear shifting will be faster. And that's what I've experienced on the 1x setup that I've been using quite a lot. Now, I could do a comparison between Shimano Di2 and eTAP AXS. That might be a whole other video in itself. But one thing that is noticeable comparing AXS to AXS is that with a front derailleur and a 2x system, that rear changing is a little slower.
So onto a little test that I ran out on the open road a few days ago. I had 30 kilometers to go on the way home, dead flat roads, nice tailwind. I decided to unpair everything and only repair the front levers and the wireless blips and not pair the front derailleur. Now, the communication I have from SRAM, they state here the latency varies approximately between 21 milliseconds and a maximum of 100 milliseconds, depending on how quickly the buttons are released. Now, they're saying here that it's the introduction of the combo shift that introduces that delay. What I'm testing here is just the removal of the front derailleur, which means that nothing actually has a combo action assigned by default. Here's the 1x setup I'll be running on the way home. And I can confirm those rear changes were just a little bit snappier. It was noticeably different.
But I do think this is an interesting topic that deserves a whole video on its own. I'll dive more into this at a later date. The question being is it the installation or the pairing of a front derailleur that slows things down, or is it the configuration of a combo action button? I'm hoping it's the combo action button so I can get away with installing the ups and downs on the front derailleur with these little blippies here and go up and down as I do on a 1x system outside. Anyway, we're deep down the rabbit hole. That's where things are at. That's my take on this new group set. Is it worth going for the full upgrade? Well, you'll probably be buying bikes with this on it anyway, as the other stuff will be phased out soon. It'll be coming on 2024 bikes, I believe. Now, thankfully, the pricing does stay the same as SRAM have mentioned, but I'm sure there's incremental updates and upgrades and bump ups on that price due to the power meter options if you choose to go that route. Alrighty, and with that, we'll leave it there for today. There's a few things for me to follow up on this one. I'll be down below in the comments and possibly posting a follow-up video regarding that combination action or pairing of front derailleur. That's something I do definitely want to dig into a lot deeper. If you've enjoyed this video, as always, give it a thumbs up to support this channel. Hit subscribe to be alerted of new videos coming out, and we shall see you soon.